Hey everyone, it's Carol here, the founder of the Sleep Success Academy. And as you'll see, I have a guest with me today. This is Ruthi. She is a current member of the Better Sleep community. And we thought we'd just have a conversation about how it's been going for her. Hey Ruthi.
Hey, Carol.
Hey. So why don't you just tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and what brought you to the Better Sleep community?
Okay, so my family's had some major ups and downs over the last few years, and as things have, they're much better now, but when we were going through a really rough period, sleep became a major issue. And right when it was time for the current cohort that I'm in, that started in January of 25, was starting, I went through another bout of not being able to sleep well. And also, my family members were going through this too. And I was like, I have got to do something. And I will say that I'm also an EFT practitioner, and I have tried EFT tapping for
Hmm.
sleep and not had that much progress, and hasn't worked that well for me. So I came to one of your free calls. Probably it was December, maybe, or maybe it was early January. I'm not sure.
Yeah, late December, early January. Yeah, those
Yeah.
calls.
And there were a couple people that were in your Better Sleep community already who were talking about how much better they are sleeping. And I was like,
Hmm.
okay, Carol is onto something that I haven't figured out, and I have given this a try. And it's
Yeah.
been amazing. I mean, I honestly, being a fellow EFT practitioner, I've been doing this for 13 years. This has been much better for sleep than anything I've tried before. So I'm extremely grateful, Carol, that you do this and make sleep a priority for all of us.
Yeah. Yeah, because tapping is great. Like I've been tapping, I don't know how long it's been. It's been 8, 9, maybe even 10 years. Not as long as you, but quite a bit. And when I was struggling with sleep, the first thing I went to was tapping. That's when I discovered tapping, actually. But then I learned that there's more than tapping because we can tap, 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 tap. But if we're not being specific to our sleep or changing some of our behaviors, we get stuck there.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm really curious because you have tapped for so long and then you come in this program and it's different and your sleep is getting better. We're not going to say that it's where you want it yet because it's a process, it's a journey.
Right.
But can you just tell the audience maybe a little bit about your sleep before and your sleep now? Like what are you noticing as we're going through the program with your sleep?
Well, I want to say that one of the biggest things that you taught right in the beginning that was like, this was for those of you that are old enough to remember the V8 commercial that would go, wow, I could have had a V8. It was that moment of, wow, why didn't I think of this before? And it was the daily accumulated stresses. It was working on everything that you've been dealing with instead of going to bed carrying all that heaviness with you, and realizing that doing things before bedtime and really all during the day to let go of stresses all during the day helped. And, Mel Robbins' book, The Let Them Theory, came out during this time. And, the whole let them and let me was a
Yeah.
big eye opener too, to quit trying to fix everybody, take care of everything, fix the world. Side note, one of the first people I did EFT with, and I'm sorry I can't remember her name right now, so I can't give her, what am I trying to say?
Recognition. Like,
Right,
yeah.
recognition or whatever for this. But she said, I let go of being general manager of the universe. It was one of
Oh,
her
I
lines
love
in
that.
tapping. I let go of being general manager of the universe. And I was like, yes, I have got to try, let go of trying to fix everything. And, for us caretakers, caregivers, whatever you want to say it, that's how we roll. Anyway,
Yeah.
so from where I started from, trying to rule the world or at least take care of my family. Um, to understanding that taking care of daily accumulated stresses with tapping and other things, meditation, prayer, etc., that my sleep is definitely improved. And there are times that it's still not great. I mean, I will say last week that I took in too much of what's going on in the world and let it really upset me, and woke up at
Yeah.
2:30 in the morning with that, there's no way I'm going back to sleep. And it was a rough night. And I got to feel what the next day feels like when I don't sleep. And I'm like, wow, I forgot how bad this is, because I haven't had that really, that bad of an experience of sleep since I've started doing this. And so it was
Wow.
actually good in a way to go,
Yeah.
how are people functioning without sleep?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were there. We
Yes.
were there. And so I'm having a little bit of a rough sleep because I've had this cold for about a week, but I'm still sleeping, right? And it's how do we manage life when things happen, whether
Yes.
it be the news, whether it be politics, whether it be a cold, whether it be people are in our lives that aren't doing well, or family members, and being, and I'm going to say, because I know both of us are sensitive
Yes.
and wanting to take care of people, how do we set boundaries while still respecting our needs and respecting the needs of others? And that's another part of the Better Sleep community. I've set a lot of boundaries this week. You've set some boundaries in your life. Then you crossed your own boundary by watching the news,
Well, it wasn't
right?
actually the news, it was
News,
Facebook. It
but
was doom scrolling. It was staying on
doom scrolling.
way too long, taking in way too much, reading, oh my gosh, is this really happening? Oh my gosh, getting into that
Yeah,
whole fear-based
yeah,
bedtime, sinking into it.
yeah.
And it's like, whoa,
Whoa.
can't do this. So from the sleep standpoint, from not sleeping last Monday night and then Tuesday being rough, really rough, and then going, okay, I've got to take much better care of myself. What do I need?
Mhm.
And so all the things.
But
So this week has been so much better because I'm limiting all of that and doing what I believe is really important, Carol, and that is doing what you need to do to create inner peace and then radiating that out for world peace. And I know that's beyond sleep, but to me, that's what our
what
purpose.
is it really beyond sleep, though? This is where I always go. Sleep is not about wearing those blue blocking glasses before bed
Yeah,
or making sure I meditate half hour before bed. Those are great things. But the beyond sleep is the world news, is the choosing what I'm going to do, take care of myself. They're not technically directly sleep related, but they are directly sleep related.
I
And
agree.
that's what the program helps with. I feel that's what I've created with the Better Sleep community is an understanding of not just at what time to go to bed, but how do we remove sleep disruptors or how do we manage our energy during the day so that when bedtime comes, we're actually able to go to sleep because we've taken care of it during the day.
Yeah, and I want to add one other thing. You said, I don't remember the exact way you worded the question, but what has changed? And one thing that I learned from you is that it's normal to wake up at least six
Mm.
times during the night. And that was very eye-opening. And now I'm much better prepared to get myself back to sleep instead of, oh no, I'm awake, with that feeling of, oh no, the dread. Instead
Yeah,
of that happening, it's like, okay, and now I can get back to sleep. And I have a couple tools I use for that I've learned from you and, others places, but getting myself back to sleep has
yeah.
helped so much instead of freaking out. And so, other than that one time last Monday when I was beyond that, it works.
It works. And we also often talk about like there are nights that your tools are going to work and there are nights where your tools aren't going to work.
Right,
And it's not about judging that it didn't work, it's just about being curious. Well, what was different this time that I did that my tools didn't work? And you know that. You just took in too much
right.
and it overwhelmed your nervous system. And you got
Yes,
stuck in that fight or flight mode of like, oh my God, the world is totally unsafe or
yeah,
chaotic, and then that stops us from sleeping.
yes,
Yeah,
yes. And that right there, just that knowledge, that understanding that there is a limit to how much of out here we can take in and still function and be able to
yeah,
serve the way we're meant to serve in the world.
yeah. It really helps too when we can sleep to be
Yes.
able to serve. Because man, I've been sleep deprived, and I tell you, it's been awful. And now that I sleep, so we had a bit of a conversation before we come in, and we talked about because we come in the same from the same world. Like, what do I think this cold means for me, right? And yes, it has to be slowing down and take care of myself. And there's been stressors in my life. But I said to you, I also feel though that this cold kind of has a different message for me. And one that I feel strongly about is like it's showing me that I can be stressed and sick and still be okay. I'm having those two things because even though I've been so sick, I've been sleeping. Because I'm sleeping, I'm able then to be able to function enough during the day, but I've been doing extreme self-care. I canceled everything. I think you're the first thing I've done in like 5 days that takes more energy than just reading a book or knitting or sleeping.
Yeah.
But we learned that too in the Better Sleep community. Like I really do what I preach because I believe it's important. If I'm going to teach people to take care of themselves, I got to do it first. And once we do the self-care, sleep stays. Or
Yes.
when your sleep doesn't stay because of the stress, then we can get back to sleep quicker after, right? We don't stay stuck in that sleepless state that then makes other sleepless night happen because the belief of, oh my God, here I go again. Right. So there's that as well. There's the being able to be sick and be okay, or have a stressful day and be okay and still sleep. So that's a big part.
Yes.
So our next cohort starts with the welcome call on April 10th. What I love about the Better Sleep community is that people can come back as many times as they want. You join once and then you keep coming because there's so much information and it's hard to implement it all and to understand it all the first round. So if you were talking to a friend and you knew that friend was struggling with sleep, what would you tell her about the Better Sleep community that might be helpful for her to make a decision to join us?
Well, I actually had this happen. I'm um, substitute teaching
Mhm.
air yoga at the senior center right now, and someone mentioned to me that she can't sleep, and I said, "Well," and anyway, long story short, I sent her to one of your drop-in classes, and she came up to me afterwards and said, I really like that class. I'm looking forward to doing, some more. And I said, yeah, I really think you would get a lot out of the Better Sleep community. So I don't know yet if she'll join or not.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I like so right now I'm assuming you're keeping the same Tuesday, Thursdays.
Yeah.
So the Tuesdays are the teaching calls, if you will, and then Thursdays are more experiential. And I really like the Thursday calls when we get into doing the practices together. And it's so
Yeah.
helpful to hear everybody else's input and what's working from them. And we're learning from each other and supporting each other. And I think that's a big part of it being a community. I even like the word that you call it, the Better Sleep community, because it is
Yeah.
community. And that does help a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And the meetings, the calls, I made them twice a week because there's a lot of programs that only have one time a week. And that's great, but I wanted to be able to teach and have the experience. I was like, what do I do with that? So that's where the two calls came. They are recorded. So if somebody misses a call, it's not a big deal. They can go back and watch it later. And it's okay because I think the program is designed that each week could stand alone, but yet they also go in line with each other. But if you
Yeah.
miss the week, it's not going to like put you back. You can still just jump in where we're at. Yeah, and
Yes.
I like that the two calls and the experiential part of it, like really focusing on rewiring our nervous system for calm. That part of the program I love.
Yes, and you put a lot of emphasis on orienting, and just orienting to the present moment is so helpful. And even
Yeah,
talking about, filling the sheets when you're in the bed, filling your pillow, really
yeah,
becoming present in that moment instead of the mind spiral that happens at 2:30 in the morning. You know that joke about I can't remember exactly how it goes, but with your brain at 3 a.m.
yeah.
gives you every mistake you've ever made and
Yeah.
all the
Yeah, that joke. Yeah, because it
yeah,
does. And the
it does.
reason it does is because somehow your nervous system got triggered in that sympathetic energy, so that fight flight, and story follows state, which we talk about in the Better Sleep community as well. So the minute we become activated, the stories that are going to want to help us feel this state and is going to give you every past mistake, you're right, everything you haven't done, everything you've done that you wish you would have done
Right.
different,
Right.
and it does that and it wakes you up. And because we wake up 6 times in a night without realizing it, because usually we wake up just that little second or two before we hit the next sleep cycle, but not when we're activated in our mind, then we're just awake and then the thoughts, they take over. They're like having a mind of their own, like we would say.
Yeah. So it helps so much to come back to the present moment instead of letting the brain
Yeah.
go really off the rails.
Yeah. So my maybe the last question I'll ask you when it's about tapping, because you've been an EFT practitioner for quite a long time and didn't really have success with your sleep using tapping.
Right.
I know you've had success in many other areas. What is different? Like, I don't even know how to ask this question, but like,
Yeah,
what
why
was it
wasn't
that you
I
were
successful?
missing?
Yeah.
Yeah, like what were you missing? What was missing for you in the tapping?
Well, first of all, anybody who does tapping on their own knows that it's not that you can't do it on your own. You absolutely can. But I'm not going to say it's not as effective, but I don't stick to it as much.
Right.
Sleep, 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 and it didn't work. Never mind. I mean, I don't stick with it. And so being in the community, having the support, having other people to work with, being able to say, okay, I'm really struggling with whatever, and being able to bring it to everybody else and work on it together really makes a difference. Huge
Yes.
difference. And I will tell you that I had a client that came to me for sleep. I don't remember how many years ago, 5 years ago or so, and we didn't make much progress, even though we were focusing on it. And a lot of it was because I was focusing on the past, which is what I had learned in EFT. You know,
Yeah.
when did this first start? Where did it come from? And that, not that those things aren't important, but focusing on the daily accumulated stresses is so
Stress.
much more important for sleep. And I'm not,
Yeah.
like I said, the other things aren't important, but this is what I think made the big shift for me and made it where it's
Yes.
working for me so much better at that and community.
Yes, that answered my question is because with sleep, yes, there's an element of looking at the past of when did it start, but that's not what will fix your sleep is what's happening in the present moment. So that
Yes.
daily accumulated stress. So yeah, you answered my question that I wasn't quite sure what I was asking, but we got there.
Well, good. I'm glad I answered it.
Yeah. So any last words before we disconnect here?
Um, I just want to say thank you for doing this. That
Mm.
when you become an EFT practitioner, that there's a lot of businessy things that we're taught, and we're taught to find a niche or niche, whichever way you pronounce it. And I started out working with emotional eating, and it was great for several years, and then I just got burnt out on it. But I think sleep is one that my original thought was, well, yeah, sleep's important, but how many people are really going to focus on it? And now that I've taken the time to really focus on it, I'm like, oh my goodness, why didn't I do this sooner?
Yeah. Yeah. Because without sleep, we're not functioning. We can
Right.
try anything else. If we're not sleeping, then everything else suffers.
Absolutely.
Plain and simple.
100%.
And
Yes.
so, but my focus on sleep is more about feeling good every day.
Yes.
How do I help myself, support myself, find the things that will support my sleep? Because then the rest of my life will actually work out the way I want it.
Yeah, and I'll say that I focus a lot on what you do first thing in the morning, and
Mm.
you're not really able to meditate and do all the things if you wake up in a crappy mood because you didn't sleep well and that's all you can focus on, you can't even do the things to start your day well and
No,
function at your best. So sleep
no,
is the pivotal. Uh,
is the pillar
yes, yes,
is the most important. Like I know that they say there's and nutrition, exercise, and sleep are the three good things, but without sleep, the other two don't even matter.
no, they don't.
And if your nervous system is dysregulated, then sleep can't come. Our biology won't allow sleep to come. So first it's regulate the nervous system and then change the mindset and the behaviors change and sleep comes automatically. It's just beautiful.
Yes, you handle everything so much better when you're sleeping well.
Yes.
Yes.
Even being sick, I've been able to handle it and been able to make decisions of taking more self-care, setting more boundaries, really picking and choosing what I'm doing. Things that an exercise we missed last week on the call because I had to cancel the call for the first time ever in the six
Yeah.
rounds I've done this. First time canceling a call. But it was self-care, right? It was teaching you guys like sometimes you do need to cancel things and that's okay.
Yeah.
Um, but we didn't do the exercise of what are we willing to give up and what are we not willing to give up in our life, which is part of boundaries, and also what gives me energy and what drains my energy. That exercise, when we do focus on it, it is so amazing because that's what I did this week. I focused on what was draining my energy and remove those things out of my days because I just didn't have enough. And then what gave me energy. And I only did things that gave me energy. So even though I had no energy, I kept the good stuff and then I slept. There's one night I had more of a hard time sleeping, but that's because I had slept a lot during the day. So of course my sleep drive wasn't built. It was other things than the mind. But yet I wasn't cranky about it. I wasn't frustrated about it. It was just an acceptance of this is part of the healing of the cold. Right. And I think you've had some of those experiences too, where you just wake up and you're not frustrated anymore. You're like, okay, I'm not sleeping. It's like,
Yes. Yes. You're right. Yeah, you're right. My sleep has not been perfect since I've been doing this, but I'm accepting it so much more and sharing that information with my family members. And so they're not getting as stressed and upset when they don't sleep. And that is huge, all the way around. Yeah.
oh my God, you're healing the household just by learning for yourself.
Yes.
Right? It's amazing. All right, so our next round starts in a few weeks or whenever you're watching this. So April 10th will be the welcome call, and then our coaching calls, they start the week after on the Tuesdays and Thursdays. Anyone interested in joining, there's a link in the description below. You can go click on it and you can join us at any time. If you're watching this past the start date, know that you can join at any time anyway, because everything's recorded there for you and you get to come back as many times as you want. So that's it. I hope to see everybody on the group calls.
Thank you, Carol.